Good morning, Guam. Well, not really a good morning. It's a hot morning, and it started out good, but when we came to this latest illegal dump sites here in Chala Ramirez, also known as Zero Down to my gangsters out there, the Jigo area, and we're here with Nic Lee, of course, of Guam EPA. I want to thank Nick for coming out pretty last minute, last second actually, to come out to this site, which Sabrina kind of told us about. We did a bunch of stories about that guy who was living at the bus stop around here, and the whole time we're coming in here to shoot those stories, we're like, man, this place is just. And you haven't been here yet, have you?
No, no, personally, I have not. There are other areas in Jigo that I'm familiar with, in terms of participating in different cleanups.
Right.
But we do receive complaints and tips from different residents about different areas up here.
Right.
So these things get logged in and they are reported to our solid waste management program. I know that the mayor's office is also involved with fielding these complaints, and I'm sure they're inundated with the different areas, particularly in the back roads that
Right.
aren't very that aren't traversed very often.
Let's go traverse this area here. You have the popular blue Asahi cans. And this area, household trash. Yeah, what kind of trash you want? You want household trash? We got that. You want TVs? We got that. You guys call these white goods, right? Refrigerators, washers, that type of thing.
That's correct.
And so, if you could, these are dangerous because these refrigerators have chemicals in them, and those chemicals then seep out into the ground, and then, of course, make their way to the groundwater.
That's also true alongside creating vector problems with rodents.
Vector meaning rats.
Right, that's correct. So there are the refrigerants that may still be present in the appliances that could pose some threat to the environment. These things would take on water, like right here.
Right.
Breeding ground for mosquitoes. And so this is unfortunate that this is happening all over,
All over Guam. I'm just tired of it. You guys suck. You guys suck. And you know what annoys me about this is it's monkey see, monkey do. You know what I mean? You get one person to dump a refrigerator here, and then another person's like, oh, they dumped one there. And then pretty soon, and this is just the first spot we stopped at. I mean, I'm counting probably about 20 refrigerators here, and right around the corner, there's another 20. We're going to go across the street. And again, we're faced with that question of who do we hold responsible? Well, I think we hold the people who are dumping this stuff responsible. I mean, I've heard the same sob stories from the mayors, not enough manpower, Guam EPA. I mean, you guys got your hands full with, the buildup and with all this construction going on in Guam that you guys got to police. And, I just had a long chat with the Lieutenant Governor, Josh Tenorio, about these illegal dumps. And he was basically like, Chris, I think we're at the point where the government has to bite the bullet and suck it up and come out here and just, move the stuff.
Well, I think addressing the issue with illegal dumping, this is a global concern, and this
Right.
is something that I always try to remind everybody about. Different countries, even jurisdictions within our mainland counterparts, have their issues with illegal dumping, and I think the approach has to be systemic in terms of combating illegal dumping. It's going to take a concerted effort between between our elected leaders and between even the court system.
On the enforcement side, right?
That's correct. So there are some jurisdictions in the states that do have sanitary enforcement programs. There, everything that most people will talk about in terms of enforcement, like camera usage in areas that present opportunities for illegal dumping to occur.
Yeah, but you do that in some of these areas in Guam, I mean, they're going to steal the cameras.
That's happened before. I know there's one area in Australia that has deployed drones for surveillance. There are things that we could look at, and of course, there are other areas who have made penalties and fines stiffer for this type of activity.
Right.
You know, you talked about manpower earlier, and you know, everybody gets critical. Everyone has a right to be critical about this. You know, particularly in the minds of those who engage in activities to help clean this up.
Right. I mean, where do you, Jesus, we do a cleanup in one area, and then there's like 30 other areas that need it too, and then you go and clean up an area, you know, which we see a lot because nobody will clean up anything unless they post stuff on social media. You know, 2 weeks later, it's right back where we started.
Again, yeah, the approach has to be systemic. You know, in terms of.
Yeah, let's look at this here. We've got a burn pit. I mean, this is obviously a pit where they burned what looks like a vehicle here, and then we've got all these spray paint cans. Now, to me, when I look at that amount of spray paint cans, it seems like it's too many to come from a household. This looks like some jerk is dumping like his business trash here or something. Maybe he runs like an auto body shop,
or it could be a do-it-yourselfer who was renovating an office space or part of their house.
Starting to get hit with the smell now.
That's not cans we're smelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some household trash here. And let's go look around in this. You know, we've got, I mean, refrigerator graveyard. This is a abandoned vehicle graveyard. And I heard something about the mayors are going to go around and start collecting abandoned vehicles on a side note.
Right. So there's approximately $1.3 million in a carryover appropriation for the mayors to execute their island-wide environmental cleanup program. A couple of weeks ago, both our administrator and the Mayor's Council president signed off on an operations plan. And so we understand that the Mayor's Council will soon be issuing POs to get some of this stuff cleaned up. You know, the priorities are the white goods and the abandoned vehicles.
Right.
So we're confident that that money is going to.
Let's put this spot on the list here.
Absolutely. I know Mayor Matanani is pretty active with it. I heard him on the radio a couple weeks ago, holding a couple of people accountable. You know, after catching them, I don't know if it was littering or defacing a property, but he gave them a chance to come into his office to make good on it and start cleaning up. So we're excited that that some cleanup is going to occur with some items like these white goods and the abandoned vehicles.
I mean, you know, I don't know if it's an urban legend or anything, but you see those movies where kids play around the refrigerators, they get stuck in the. Yeah, I can't believe I just touched that. But, I think the meat is thawed. We got another little site. Let's go walk around the corner here. And you know, Nick, I think the problems like this, or areas like this present a problem because it's not like you can come in here with your traditional all hands on deck type of cleanup, because we're talking about metallic waste, you know, abandoned cars, rusted out metal that's, you know, dangerous for people. So, you know, usually with the cleanups, it's like household trash. I mean, God, there's no shortage of this place is disgusting.
Well, yeah, there's always an inherent risk every time you come into a dump site.
Right.
You know, everything from your household trash to your household hazardous waste to anything that could cut you, glass, bottles, rusted metal, like you say. But you know, so in terms of the manpower, you know, the agency does have eyes on one particular bill. This is out of Senator Jim Moylan's office. He's seeking to amend an old 1980 public law, you know, that allows for certain inmates who are on pre-parole.
They get service credit. So if they get out here and they pick up, all this trash, they knock off like 3 hours off their sentence or something.
Right, and well, I'm not sure about the specifics, but
Yeah, I was kidding.
well, I think a couple of years ago it was reported that housing an inmate per day is around $100,
Right.
towards the taxpayer, and so if we're somehow able to leverage our limited resources and put it to good use, that there's going to be some positives to that.
I mean, yeah, that's a good idea. We used to do a lot of cleanups with the prisoners. You'd see them bush cutting, you know what I mean, doing stuff on the side of the road. And I mean, there's a whole labor force there we have yet to tackle.
Right. So I think obviously the administrative processes as far as the DOC director's role is concerned needs to be addressed properly.
Right. So I mean, hey, I'm pretty sure all the prisoners want to come out for a day and, pick up trash. I mean, just to get some fresh air.
Right.
But you don't want any like rapists out here or anything.
No, and I don't think that that the eligible criteria would include those types of inmates. If agencies and other task forces and committees are able to enter into an MOU with DOC, there's a lot of good that can be done there, and with how much is spent on housing and caring for the inmates, you'd see some returns back on that.
Right.
So, hopefully it gets the support that it needs. And
So that's a nice plug for Senator Moylan's bill.
Well, again, if you're talking about managing your limited resources, I mean, for example, the agency's solid waste management program really only has five people in it, and some of the duties that this program manages are inspections and enforcement,
Right.
permitting, and so we look at solid waste management facilities, collectors, the whole gamut of anybody who requires a permit, and there's a lot of work involved with that, and some of the things that we do statutorily are meant to augment this type of behavior, and sometimes it doesn't always work out, obviously.
Someone here made a suggestion. Make sure the mayor spend that 1.3 million in the right way. But a camera, a lookout tower. How about a sniper tower? We just built a sniper tower, and anyone you catch, back it up. Dumping refrigerators. I'm not talking headshot. I'm just saying, maybe shoot them in the foot or something. I mean, and we talk about why are people doing it. I think economics is an obvious issue. If you never go to like Barragata Heights or Oka or where the governor lives. I mean, they don't have a problem with illegal dumping, right? But you go into these areas where as people are poverty stricken and they're the worst spots on the island.
We're not entirely sure about that, and I agree with you that a argument can be made for that.
And I'm not saying anything about the poor people. I mean, obviously they don't have the money to dump the stuff, and we need to do more to give them opportunity. I mean, God, just put some dumpsters out here or something.
Right. Yes. Some of us don't have the wherewithal to manage our solid waste properly, or some of us don't care about it. The ones that could afford it don't understand the environmental impacts that are associated with illegal dumps. So,
I mean, this has got to be the year of the illegal dump. I mean, God, we've done so many illegal dump stories, and it's crazy. And there's no lifeline rate for solid waste disposal. That's another issue.
I'm not familiar with that, but I know that in talking to Larry Gass, the GM for the Solid Waste Authority, I know he's got his hands full trying to build Lads on Cell 3 and all, but in our discussions with Larry, we are going to be working together in terms of outreach. Larry mentioned that a lot of his experience sees that by the time you're a third grader, your ability to comprehend these things will carry over into.
Hit them when they're young. That's
Right.
right. So let's brainwash the kids. To rightfully hate on illegal dumping. One thing though, we don't really see a lot of solutions coming out of the legislature, and I just want to take this opportunity to call out the senators because, I mean, other than Senator Clint Rogel did a big cleanup, but do you think there are legislative fixes that we can use from the senators? Because it seems like a lot of their focus and energy is taken and trying to hold the military buildup accountable, which is definitely a very important issue. But there are a lot of equally important issues out here that I think are escaping the attention of our elected leaders.
We have a great relationship with our committee chair and Senator Sabina Perez. She's very in tune with modernizing the agency's
Let's go back over here.
regulations, and she's very open to discussions in terms of strengthening what the agency can do, not just with illegal dumping, but there are other issues. And Chris, being part of the media, you understand. There's the whole PFOS, PFOA issue. There's regulating construction, build-up or private.
Right on.
We're part of this committee to look at preserving, the coral reef system, and so our administrator Walter Leon Guerrero is heading a subcommittee for land-based pollution sources, and some of those land-based pollution sources are right
here. I mean, our environment's under siege from like the military buildup to with the construction that's going on. I mean, you guys have cited a bunch of construction companies for notices of violation. I mean, illegal dumping. We've got all the runoff concerns with the reef. So back to this issue of illegal dumping, though. I mean, I think a good fix would. The governor loves to form these task forces. Let's form a task force, and I talked to Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio. Let's get out here, village by village, clean them up, stick some dumpsters out here, do a pickup date or something. You know what I mean? It's like we've been talking about this issue all year. Haven't really seen other than the community cleanups, and I know the governor had a couple cleanups, but just really a concerted response. When we did this first Facebook Live, we talked with you guys, and there are other agencies that also have the enforcement authority, but they don't use it.
Everybody has a full plate right now, and everybody is managing their.
Nick has given us the political. He doesn't want to throw anybody under the bus.
Well, we all have to work together, and I'm sure there are other agencies that are critical of ours, and I think it's part of the passion in professionalism. But going back to LT, I understand that there is a waste characterization study that's going to be implemented soon. So this is leverage funding through BSP. I don't know where we are in terms of site selection. I can check with our solid waste program to see where we're at there. But there's a lot of important things that need to occur during this study. You sample the trash, you understand what's being dumped, and then.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll do the homework for you. Everything's being dumped. It's all being dumped.
Well, when it comes to grant funding and other opportunities,
a little more specifics required.
We need a tad more specifics in terms of trying to avail to this type of help, and the data logging is going to be a great catalyst for other programs in terms of modernizing the way the island handles its solid waste.
We got a comment here from John Robert. Let's face it, the real reason why people dump their trash everywhere, but the dump is the hassle of how we have to dump one type of trash at one location and the other type of this just sounds like whining to me. John Robert, quit whining. Okay, it's called recycling. It's 2019. That's what we're trying to do here. It's a kind of attitude, like, oh, we got to separate our trash. Well, if you don't separate it, someone else does, and that someone else is probably going to be these guys. So instead of whining about it, why don't you try and make a difference, John Robert?
What
really, he's just, this constant expecting other people to take care of it. I mean, the government definitely has a responsibility, but it's things like that. Oh, I got to sort through my trash. Oh, I'm just going to dump it in the jungle. It's just idiotic.
Yeah, we're aware of people calling this an inconvenience in terms of what facilities will accept what type of waste.
That's no excuse.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. There is no excuse for improper waste management at all, and we're grateful and appreciative of KUAM to bringing this to the light.
So you're grateful that we drag you out here to these illegal dump sites every other week?
Well, I think any opportunity to bring light to this, as a constant reminder that
Bring light to this dark subject.
absolutely, it's an uncomfortable topic that not many people want to address. The agency does have a contractor on board to look at what types of action can be taken in terms of policy changes.
Right.
I know in some parts of the states, waste management fees are built into your utility bills, and I'm not saying that that's something we need to look at, but
I think we need to look at everything now, Nick. And I mean, no knock on you, but we've been talking about this all year. I mean, even last year, and you're very consistent in your messaging, and I know it's out of your hands. I think it's at the upper levels of government that we need to really mobilize on this issue, because frankly, I'm tired of talking about it. I'm just tired of illegal dumps. I mean, you guys should know better. I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, people can't afford it, but I think we can expect a certain amount of personal responsibility for this this type of behavior. It's no respect. This place is a dump.
yes, a huge community issue that extends into every walk of life.
Right.
This is not just about poverty-stricken. This is not just about ignorance. This is not just blaming the regulatory or the elected leaders. Everybody does have to come to the table.
It's all our fault.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but there's enough blame to go around.
There definitely is. And another impact of this is, you talk about the kids growing up in an environment like this. I mean, how come they be proud of where they come from? They're coming from an area that's totally trashed, and that's one of the unseen impacts, I think, of illegal dumping. Nick, I want to thank you for coming out again. I mean, always, very accessible. They put a lot of stuff on their website. They're doing a lot of things, and we know they're on the forefront, the front line of the war on the environment that's going on here in Guam, and these are some of the good guys. So just really appreciate the work you do, and I know it's frustrating, man. And thanks for coming out here. And you could be in your office. I'm not gonna say you have a nice office.
I'm looking forward to the next time we do this, and then hopefully we see a decrease, and then we could look back on this conversation and probably figure out
one day,
yeah.
One day minus today. For Nic Lee, Guam EPA, my name's Chris Barnett, and thank you so much for watching Group Chat. It's our starting lineup right here on KUAM. Estajos.